Now, like I said, we're in a different environment here. Now at home, trying to do your dhikr, trying to do your sheets, it's going to be very different, And that's the real test. This is what we're here for, is how we deal with people, how we do our dhikr when we're busy, how do we control our tongue when with family, when we're at work. Are we still in the remembrance, the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Is our sincerity same as it was in the mosque when we're outside? This is the real test. This is really showing if you've developed or not. So this is where they're going to be there to help you specifically to see how you're getting on with these 5 fundamental practices, and to assist you where they can if you're struggling, and if you're doing well, then tell you how to carry on progressing. And then finally, your mentor, who are the main senior ustads, which you'll be shown, they're there to assess your progress. So they're the ones who are going to give you permission to, i.e., progress further. So for example, just say you've on the tongue sheet, you've completed your tongue sheet, and now you think, right, I need to go on to the next stage. What's the next sheet? What do I need to do? Then you'll speak to your support mentor. You say, look, I've finished my tongue sheet. What do I do next? Then he will get you in contact with your mentor, who's one of the senior ustads, which you'll see in the next slide. You'll be in contact with them, and then they will advise you. They'll assess your sheets. They will see, if you need to go forward, if there's something you need to improve on. Then they will assess if you can go on to the next sheet or not. And then, for example, with the dhikr, if you're doing the dhikr properly, if you need to change the dhikr, they will also tell you this. And then finally, they'll provide you with solutions for any specific difficulty. Sometimes, some people might have, different problems. Not everyone's the same, and some people might struggle with other things more than others. So something you got to remember on this path, and one of the quickest way to progress is to be completely honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself, and be honest with the support mentors and the teachers. Because that is the only way you're going to progress. If you're going to hide things, if you're going to keep them inside and think, no, I'm alright, I'll forget about this, somewhere down the line it's going to sting you in your progression. So it's very important to be as honest as possible. The more honest you are, the more clearer you are, the quicker you can be guided, and the quicker you can achieve the closeness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because remember, you can hide it from your mentor, but you cannot hide it from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whatever you're doing, whatever difficulty you're having. So just taking and thinking, yeah, I'll get better, you're only fooling yourself, no one else. So you need to be as honest as possible. And sometimes people may have more difficulties than others with certain things, because at the end of the day, we're all ill, or we all have some sort of illness in us, some sort of spiritualness somewhere in us, some at different levels. So through this sort of program, you begin to see what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses. You might identify some long-term problems you've had, and you've never realized you've had them problems. Like for example, someone might have a very foul mouth and maybe not realize that because the company's in generally speak like that all the time. But then when you start, you begin to realize that, wow, I've got a really foul mouth. I can do other things. I can stop backbiting. I can stop gossiping. But this is really difficult. Or maybe you have aggression problems and you never realize that. At work you're very nice and you speak to everyone well. Thank you, please, yes sir, 2 sugars, 3. But then at home you're total opposite. You become this violent, aggressive person, a complete different beast altogether. So then you begin to realize that, why am I like this? And maybe you've never noticed this. So there might be some underlying issue. You might have aggression problems. There could be something there where then the senior mentors will then assess that and see, right, what is your underlying problem? And maybe they might need to set a specific program just to you, something tailored, which your support mentor maybe not be able to do. But you'd speak to your support, look, I'm not progressing, for example, on my tongue sheet specifically to this. Now your support mentor, he'll give you some advice, some techniques. Maybe it's not working, or you need something a bit more specific to yourself, or something in a bit more detail. That's when it then will be passed on to your mentor. And then your mentor then will work with you on that and how to overcome that problem and progress past that level. But one thing you have to keep in mind in all this process, your support mentor, your mentor, they can only advise you with the solutions. Ultimately, it's your job to act upon it. Nobody can do that for you. That's your specific test. That's your specific struggle. So they'll always be there for you, to support you, to give you solutions, but the situation is not going to change unless you begin to make a change. So that's something you always have to remember. That think to yourself before you go back to your mentor, have I done what I needed to do, or am I just, meeting for the sake of it because it feels good, because I like talking to them, they motivate me. But the other part which you have to do also is you've actually got to take action and do something about it. You've got to work towards whatever they've told you, whatever they've specified you to work on, you need to work towards that. And whatever advice they give you, you need to stick towards that. That's very important, because they've specialized, they've been taught in this field, they know what they're saying to you. Something might seem like, oh, how can I do this, how can I do that? But your job now is just to try to follow and adopt whatever they've explained to you, whatever solution they've provided for you. So now, inshallah, I'm just going to briefly go on to the 5 amals. So what are the 5 amals? So that we're certain and we understand, because this is very important. Sorry, just before I do that, I just want to show you who these senior mentors and ustads are. So you've got Ustad Qais, Ustad Sajid, Ustad Abdul Rahim, and the Baq, and Ustad Shalam. These are the 4 main senior, you could say, ustads who you'll be in contact with, any of these who will contact you. So for example, your support mentor will put you in contact with either of these, generally, which depending on what sort of problem you have or whatever support you need, it'll be either of these 4 ustads. So you have a look at them, so you're familiarized with them, so you know who they are, inshallah. And lastly, just regarding this, if you'd like this retreat to take place in your city or country, then please email the details to this specific email, dawah@zawiya.org. So if you just want to take that down, I'll give you a couple of seconds for those online as well. So no matter where you are, what city is, inshallah, if you just send us your details, send us your requirements, whatever it is, wherever you are, and then inshallah someone will get in contact with you and see if we can, do a retreat there, if we can provide a program for you there. So inshallah, just before we finish off, now we're just going to go over the 5 fundamental practices. So what are these 5 fundamental practices? Why are they important? These are your stepping stones. These are like your pillars which are going to keep you strong, which are going to protect you and help you on this journey to the closeness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are like your spiritual food, your spiritual nutrition. It's like, for example, the gym. You can go to the gym, you can exercise, you can lift weights, but you're never going to lift more unless you start having the right nutrition, unless you start eating the right food. It's very important. So these are like your spiritual food, so your ruh can progress. So you can progress spiritually and physically to the closeness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you can practically begin to embody yourself in the sunnah. So you begin to see, so if you were to follow these practices, you'll begin to see slowly that now the sunnah will start to come in you practically, with the way you talk, by the way you walk, by the way you think, by the way you act. All these things will slowly begin to change, and slowly you'll begin to replicate our blessed Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But this is the start of that. So it's very important that these foundations or these fundamental practices are solid. So now we're just going to briefly go over them, inshallah. So first is the dhikr. So this is like one of the spiritual foods for the soul. This is the food for the soul, the dhikr, the la ilaha illallah dhikr. This is something which you're going to do on a daily basis. This is your daily food. This is something which you need to do. This is what's going to give you the strength and the energy to carry out the good deeds. So how do we perform this? So as you can see in the diagram, first and foremost, you imagine that when you're saying la, that all the sins and all the bad deeds and all the evil qualities you have are all coming to the stomach, to the lower section, to your stomach. All of this is coming here, it's all getting collected here. So it's all coming here to your stomach, everything, all the bad deeds, all the sins, whatever you do specific to yourself, they're all becoming collected here in the stomach area. And as you're saying la, all this darkness is coming up all the way to your head here. And when you say la ilaha, all this darkness is being released, and in front of you is the name of Allah, and you're giving all these traits, you're sacrificing them for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So as you can see, it says evil traits, unlawful wealth, lustful thoughts of women, fame and name. So you imagine all these specific ones which you are struggling with difficulties you having, it's all leaving your body. So when so you're saying La ilaha, so all this evil is being released. And then from the name of Allah, when you're saying illallah, a light is descending down through and coming straight into your heart, and you can just see light purifying you. So just to explain that again, so you imagine when you're saying, before you say La, that all the darkness is gathering near the stomach area, all the evil qualities are gathering here, and then when you're saying La, they're all coming up, and then when you're saying La ilaha, they're being released, you're letting go, you're saying to Allah that I'm sacrificing these for you, I'm leaving these to you, I'm letting go of this for your sake. But the only thing I want, and then it's going to them for Allah, they're saying illallah, and they're saying Ya Allah, all I want is you. All I'm putting in my heart is you. And then you imagine this cycle again. So then it's just like a cycle. What you do with your head, so like this, La ilaha illallah. So like this, you're not going crazy like this or anything like that. That's not going to help in any way purify anything. It's more focusing in the mindset and being in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? And like what you did with the with the spiritual ascension, you'll also do the starting amals here, where you say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Astaghfirullah, Astaghfirullah, Astaghfirullah 3 times, then Durood Sharif 3 times, then La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah 3 times. Then obviously you'd make your correct intention, or you first start with your intention that I'm doing this for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Bring the 3 keys in mind, that Allah is with me, Allah is seeing me, Allah is hearing me. Bring them 3 keys in mind. Then you do the starting amals, Bismillah, 3 times Istighfar, 3 times Durood Sharif, 3 times La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. And then, you will start doing this. So now you would do this for a minimum of 5 minutes to start off, a minimum, but ideally you want to get up to doing it 20 minutes, which in reality is nothing. If we think about how long we sit on our phones in a day, 20 minutes just goes on YouTube and it feels like 5 minutes. 20 minutes just goes on Facebook. Now if you're on both one after, that's an hour just gone there. Or if you're on Snapchat, then it's gone, that's a full hour and you've not even realized it. So what is 20 minutes in the day of connecting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? On Facebook you're just connecting to people who don't even know you, hardly any of them know you. On YouTube, they barely know who you are, them videos you're watching. So connect to the one who's been waiting for you, who wants you to come to him. He's calling you. What's 20 minutes with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? But if that's difficult, then start by doing 5 minutes daily. 5 minutes, and then this is where your support mentor will come in. Slowly he will assess where you are, how you're getting on. Has it become something habitual? Has it become a routine? Is it familiar? Is it easy? Is it becoming? Then you can slowly begin to increase. You can do it on with your support mentor, whichever is easier for you. So a minimum of 5 minutes and then a maximum of 20 minutes. So you do this dhikr, and like I mentioned, this is your spiritual food. Now, like going back to the gym example, if you just go and lift weights, come home and just eat some grapes or some crisps, or a burger or some chips, and think, yeah, I'm going to get big, I'm going to get hench, then you're deluding yourself, aren't you? You're not going to get big and you're not going to get strong. People are just going to laugh at you. You're going to make yourself a laughing stock in the gym. So it's similar to this, that if you're going to go out there and thinking, you know what, I'm going to purify my eyes, I'm going to purify my tongue, I'm not going to swear, I'm not going to do this, you're making it very difficult for yourself if you're not doing your dhikr alongside it. Your dhikr is that strength, is that food that gives you the energy to carry out these acts of goodness. So this is very, very important. So they both go hand in hand, your dhikr and your amal, your actions. So first is this La ilaha illallah dhikr. So try to find a time which is easy for you. As you're going to start, that's why you're going to have for 7 days someone there with you to help you for them first 7 days, just to get into routine, to build on that. Okay, then like you've learned the muraqabah dua. So you do your La ilaha illallah dhikr for whatever time, minimum of 5 minutes. Then you will go on to the muraqabah dua. Now, it can be as long as you want, so you're all quite familiar with this methodology, alhamdulillah, because you've practiced it. But generally speaking, you can limit it to about 10 minutes. Just a minimum of 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes. Straight after your dhikr, do your muraqabah dua. Like obviously, you don't have to keep on doing it for an hour long every day, because it can be difficult. But if you feel like you want to carry on, you're not limited to 10 minutes, you're not limited to 5 minutes. However long you want to go, carry on. Wherever you go in that dua, carry on. So there's no limit to it. But as a minimum, bare minimum, try to do at least 5 to 10 minutes. This goes with the La ilaha illallah dhikr. So you perform the La ilaha illallah dhikr first, then you perform your muraqabah dua for 5-10 minutes, or however long you want to carry on. But this is also something you have to do. This is necessary also. Like the La ilaha illallah dhikr is like you've planted a seed in your heart, and now this muraqabah dua is like the sun which allows that seed to be nourished. That's how you should see it. So they go hand in hand. They go hand in hand. You can't do one and miss the other. Both are necessary for your journey. So you do your La ilaha illallah dhikr and you do the muraqabah dua, which alhamdulillah you're all familiarized, but just to quickly go over this. So you bring the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then seven blessings, 7 great sins, 7 problems, 7 needs, so in the order which you've learned. And then finally you send this to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then that's it. So it doesn't have to be very long. It can be between 5 to 10 minutes, or if you want to take it as long, that's entirely up to you. Sometimes people have heard, they intend to do 5-10 minutes, they open their eyes, it's been half an hour, because they've had such a connection with their Lord at that time, such a closeness at that time, that they've just been taken away. So it's entirely up to you, however you want to do this, but a minimum at least 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, and then we're going to go on to the actual purification part. The actual, you can say, now you've energized yourself, the right nutritions to eat, the right foods that you need. Now it's, what actions do I need to do? What do I do? How do I start? It's like, for example, you're going to go through step by step. It's like if you have 7 people you're going to have a fight with, 7 people. The most easiest option is going to be to fight them one by one. But if you take them all on at once, unless you're very special, or you're some Jackie Chan or Bruce Lee and you're very specialized in the art of fighting, then maybe you might have a chance. But generally speaking, none of us here really have that sort of level of experience. Same with spiritually as well. So this is the heart, and we have 7 organs: the tongue, the ears, the eyes, the hands, private parts, stomach, and feet. And as you can see here, these are different sins related to these organs. And each time we sin, as you mentioned that hadith, you may have heard that it puts a black dot on our heart. Now it's not a physical black dot, but this is a spiritual black dot. And what does that black dot represent? It represents you disconnecting from your Lord. It represents you becoming heedless of the akhirah. It means you're becoming more engrossed. And if a person keeps on sinning to a point where the heart is in total darkness, then it's like they've lost that connection with their Lord. They've been completely trapped by the dunya. But then by one, now if you try to do this all at once, looking at all of them saying they're trying to do this every day all at once, you're not experienced, you've never done it before, it's going to become very difficult. It's like walking into a fight with 7 people and you've just learned how to throw a left jab and a right straight. That's it. You're not going to get far in that fight. So it's similar with this. You might last a couple of days, and after that you're just going to go back to 0 again. So what we do is we take them on step by step. So each organ we take it on step by step, one by one. We learn how to deal with each organ one by one. So by doing this, then slowly, we're allowing ourselves to protect our heart from these bad actions, from these bad illnesses, from these bad diseases. So by doing it step by step, we have more of a chance of preserving this, rather than just trying to do it all at once. So as you can see here, where the tongue, for example, look at how many sins it has compared to all the other organs. Many sins. So we're going to initially start by trying to purify the tongue. That's how we're initially going to start. That's going to be our first, you could say, sheet, our first practical exercise is by purifying the tongue. So how are you going to do this? What is the procedure? Now we're going to look into that. So as it's met here, so what you'll do is, so you'll get your sheet, okay, you look through, so just say for example, you'll go throughout your day and you'll try to prevent yourself from doing any of these actions. So you look through backbiting, slander, useless talk. So you'll try your best to stop yourself from doing these actions. Now you'll come home at night or whatever, before you go bed, now you pull your sheet out and you look, right, which ones have I done, have I not done? Have I managed to, prevent myself from doing all of them? Okay, put a tick. It's like that. So you've done it for 2, 3, then 5th day you've not done it. So you'll put a cross and then you'll start again until you do 30 days without violating a rule. And then that sheet will be finished. Then that sheet, you'll speak to your support mentor. Look, I've completed this sheet for 30 days. Now, what do I do? Then he'll take this to your mentor, and then either your mentor will have a meeting with you, or he'll just tell us that, okay, tell him to carry on. So if necessary, they'll meet with you, they'll speak with you. If not, they'll say, right, okay, he's completed them, then, let him carry on. And then you'll go on to the next sheet, the next organ. So just looking at that again, so, you're not going to do it all at once. It's going to take time. So don't expect that it's going to happen all at once. So every day, the more you try and the more you become accountable of your action, you'll begin to see the more easier it'll become to stop these actions. Why? Because you're becoming more aware of what you're doing with this organ. You're having a certain level of awareness that you maybe not have had before. And because of this, now you're beginning to realize what I need to stop doing. So it might not happen all at once, but this is the aim, that you keep on trying until you get that 30 days. And the more you try, the more you will then, you will inshallah do the 30 days, you will pass the 30 days, and inshallah you'll have a tick on all them boxes. So this is the tongue sheet. So this is the first stage of purification. This is the first level you start, is by purifying the body. Then there's other stages after this, the mind, the heart, and the enlightenment stage. But this is the first and most important stage where we need to purify, is our bodily organs. And then there is a prayer sheet. So our salah. So with this, as you can see here, you're going to try to, not miss salah with jamaat without a valid excuse, intentionally missing salah, not performing sunnat muqaddar, not performing wudu properly. So all these things you check, am I doing it, am I not doing it? That's why it's important to learn your fiqh, very important. This is where your fiqh will come into play, that you need to learn them to ensure that you're doing the salah properly, you're doing your wudu properly. So it's very important, so that doesn't affect your prayer. And also with this, so it's the same procedure again. So as long as you're following them, as long as you're following these rules, you'll take them until, for example, just say you missed intentionally with Jamaat, you're out with your mates, you thought, chill off, I'll pray afterwards, I'm going to go for a meal now, I'll pray afterwards. And then you realize afterwards, you shouldn't have really done that. It was Maghrib time, you shouldn't have really done that. And you'll just put a cross there, and then you think, okay, next time I'll make intention. I won't do that. I won't miss Jamaat without a valid reason. Okay? And then another sheet that you'll do for the prayer is the spiritual level of prayer as well, which is developing the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your salah. So how you will do this is, first and foremost, obviously before you start your salah, you will make intention that you're praying for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the ultimate pleasure. And then what you'll do is, before you start your salah, you'll develop the presence once that Allah's watching me, Allah's with me, Allah's listening to me, Allah's hearing me, Allah's with me, Allah's seeing me, Allah's hearing me. You'll do that once, start your salah, and then in each posture you'll do it once. So when you started, you'll come in the presence once, so you remind yourself of the 3 keys. Then when you go into ruku, you'll do it again. Then when you stand up, you'll do it again. And then when you go down into sajda, you'll do that again. And in each posture you'll keep on doing that. And you'll have the same sheet like this for your spiritual prayer also. And this will then help you turn that salah into a communication, then you'll begin to feel like it's a conversation with your Lord. You'll begin to feel like this meeting that you've been wanting to have. Then you begin to run to your salah, because you'd have that feeling of the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as though you actually speak them and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is communicating to you. So by building up the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this way it becomes like that personal relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So like I mentioned again, so you start your salah, and you say, you come in the presence, Allah's watching me, Allah's with me, Allah's listening to me once, and you'll go into the next posture in the ruku, then you stand up, and then like this you'd carry on until the end of the salah. And then finally the last sheet is the ikhlas sheet, which is very important. Like mentioned before at the beginning, is any action without the right intention has no value. But a small action with the right intention could mean the world's difference. Could be the reason why you could have the closeness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For example, we've heard in the hadith of a woman who wasn't praying, who was a very sort of not a right type of woman, adulterer type of woman, where she could have drank the water where there was only a bit of water and she was at the well, and rather than feeding herself or drinking that water, she gave it to the dog, and then she passed away. And because of that act, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted her Jannat. And that was because of her intention, because of her sincerity, that she sacrificed for the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So imagine, it shows you how important the intention and the sincerity is. You can do all the nawafil you want, but if the intention is not correct, it has no benefit to you. So now what do we do to make sure our intention is correct, that we have ikhlas, that we have sincerity? Is like level 1 as mentioned, that in all major good deeds, e.g. 5 daily prayers and 1 dhikr, one should do them for the pleasure of Allah and in order to attain salvation and reward in the hereafter. One should check and refresh her intention in the beginning, middle and the end. So what you will do, for example, so just say in your salah, before you start, you'd make the intention that I'm doing this for the pleasure of Allah. You don't have to say it verbally, main thing is in your heart, that you make that intention. Then you pray your salah. Then in the middle, maybe after second or third rak'ah, you make this again. You remind yourself that why am I doing this? I'm doing it for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for Jannat, and you keep on doing it. Then at the end, before you say salam, you'll do it again. And similarly with your dhikr, you'll do the same thing again. So for example, before you start, you'd make that intention, then during your zikr, you'd make that intention, and then at the end, you'll make that intention again. So these are, and then likewise, same again, so you will put a tick on that if you did that for every salah, for every dhikr, for every muraqabah, you did that in the beginning, in the middle and the end. And if you'd forgotten, then you'd put a cross on there, and then you'd carry on doing that, ticking for 30 days until you've done the 30 days. Then inshallah you'll speak to a mentor, and then they will then assess your sheet and if you want to move to the next level or not. So these are the 5 fundamental practices. So you have your dhikr, you have your muraqabah, you have your ikhlas, sincerity sheet, you have your tongue sheet, and you have your prayer sheet. So not to worry too much if you didn't get it all at once. You're going to get all this sent to you of the 7 days now. Your mentor will be your support mentor will be speaking to you about this to make sure you understand it, you know what you're doing, and they're going to be practically there for you. So you'll go, you'll do it, and then for example tomorrow, Sunday or Monday, you'll speak to them, how did it go? I didn't manage to do it. Okay, then they'll advise you, okay, I didn't really find it, I didn't know what I was doing at this point. They'll advise you, okay, at this point do this or do that. So then for these 7 days they'll help you. So don't worry too much that I didn't really grasp it all. But so your support mentor will be there for the first 7 days to help you to familiarize yourself with these amals, so you can, at the end of that 7 days, hopefully you should be okay on your own to then carry on and then keep in touch with them once a month, or minimum of once a month. And as you go along, then as mentioned, then your sheets will be assessed and you'll carry on like this. So inshallah, that is everything that's mentioned. We're going to shortly break for salah. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika.